Tell us a little bit about just, you don't have to go into too long of a depth story, but kind of your entry into weather. I mean, you've been in it for so long. Where did it kind of start for Hutch?
As a kid in Montana, I grew up in Billings. We had a tornado warning, and I was a kid that ran outside, and I looked up at the clouds, and I saw my first funnel cloud, and I realized through school I was a lot gooder at math and science than I was at grammar and English. So, I just loved learning more about it. Had a meteorologist come to my classroom when I was in high school that was on the local television. I thought, that sounds like a good thing to do. So got really interested in looking into colleges that did that. I went to college, finished high school in the Denver area, and worked in research meteorology for about 5 years before I jumped ship and did the broadcasting thing, and it's been fun since.
Yeah, I feel like that's super rare. I don't know if I grew up with anybody that ever was like, I really am interested in weather. Yeah. So it's kind of cool to see that, that was a thing. And then even if you are interested, I would assume climbing the ladder to get to like where you've gotten, that's incredibly hard. I mean, I can name two weathermen, you and John Wheeler. Right. So it's like to get to that level, I'm sure it took a lot. So,
well, it also just is more like this love. I feel like I'm lucky to be able to go every day to work and love what I do and care about it. Because look, if you've watched weather, you know that we're going to miss a forecast here or there, and you can either miss it and kick the can and go down the road, or you can try to find out what happened and why. And so if I forecast snow for Fargo and I said 3 inches, and I wake up and see what we saw today and there's nothing on the ground, I'm like, what went wrong? And that's kind of the fun thing about the science. It's like it's an evolving science, and it's a ongoing learning adventure.
What was it like? Like, I don't want to speak for you, but sometimes it's really difficult. Like, if people are really good at math or science, sometimes maybe they're not the most, entertaining type of person. Have you always been kind of a character?
I was kind of the class clown.
Were you?
A lot growing up, and got along with a lot of folks and just enjoyed people, and I still do. Yeah. And so people will come up in the grocery store, the restaurant, say howdy. I enjoy talking about the weather. Sometimes people rib me about, I wish I had a job where I could be wrong and still get a paycheck. I'm like, I was not a dodo going to college. I knew that this would be a good idea.
Yeah.
How do you handle that type? I mean, like you said, after all these years, do you feel like it's just normal? It's a normal part of your life being approached and people saying comments like that. I mean, is that normal to you? Or?
I have really thick skin. It doesn't bother me whatsoever in the least. You know what? It doesn't matter what we do. We all make mistakes. We all put our pants on one leg at a time. I do my best. I don't think I'm on, above anyone in the fact that, we're going to miss some forecasts. I'll own that every time, but it's a matter of being willing to take a look at what you do, earning the respect of your coworkers, your colleagues, and then the community too as a whole is something that takes time. And I was invested in that every time. So,
did it take time for you to get used to just being on camera? Was that really difficult for you, or did you feel like you were a natural at it right away?
No, I was not a natural. I took speech in college, and it was like, and I was sweating bullets. And then the first television opportunity that I have, if I went back and watched those VHS tapes, if you remember what those look like, it was painful to watch. But I think a week or two of doing it every day helped. And then it's just experience of knowing, you're going to drop your clicker. The computer's going to die on you. Your microphone's sitting way over there. What do you do?
Sure.
So you kind of learn how to roll with the punches, and it gets easier.
Did you have broadcasting? You were in broadcasting before Fargo? You were on television before Fargo, or was Fargo your first opportunity?
Yeah. So I worked research meteorology, flying on NOAA aircraft, researching with lasers and stuff. Real cool stuff.
Really cool.
But I always did want to do TV. So my major was meteorology. I'm a scientist. But I took broadcasting and communications as a minor. And so I had interned in television, and I had a buddy that had a job in Cheyenne. He's like, would you come fill in for us? And that was the like 1 to 2 weeks of solid on-air time that I needed to kind of just feel more comfortable behind the camera. And then I had a job opportunity in Missouri. Was there for 1 year doing mornings, and I got a chief meteorologist opportunity in Bismarck. So I was out there for almost 10 years before I came here.
Wow.
Wow. Was that with the same news company, or that was those Fargo and Bismarck? Those are separate companies.
It's an interesting thing. There are stations that are owned and have been owned by the same companies in both markets. So, so the NBC here owns the NBC in Bismarck, and so that was the competition. So I kind of got hired by the competition to come to Fargo, but it was great for me because my dad and family lived in Staples, so we were 200 miles closer to getting the kids to the farm, and it was awesome. The lakes, we just enjoyed that. Bismarck is beautiful, love Bismarck, and we met a lot of great people there. But it was a great opportunity to move closer to some family.
Yeah. When you came to Fargo, did you feel like that was like the pinnacle of chief meteorologist for you? Like, I mean, was that just like you had made it? You
Honestly,
had worked all those years.
it was another, I wasn't somebody who got into this business that says, okay, Minneapolis or Denver, in my case, is my goal. I'm going to be here in 8 years. No, I was happy to enjoy the community I was in. I had kids, 4 of them here, and I was ingrained in the community. So once we got settled here, this is where I am, and I'm going to put everything I got into it every day. So,
were you ever approached to a next level, to a bigger city or a bigger news station?
There were some opportunities along the way, and as those came up, I think the longer I was here, developing my rapport with the viewers here at home, and also the longer I was here and had, kids that I didn't want to move across the country, those were more important in my heart and mind than other opportunities were.
Sure. What was the schedule like when you were at Valley News Live? What was the schedule like? I mean, working mornings, you had to have been on the clock all the time. I mean, there were times you'd get up at 6 a.m. and you're reporting a storm, or 5 a.m. and whatever it is. What was that like, and was it hard adjusting to that?
No, because weather happens when it does. And when I got into this business, even on the research side, we'd spend the boring part of the year, sitting in front of the computer and working on answering weather questions. But the exciting part, when the weather was happening, we just left and we were gone all summer. So it's this kind of knowledge that if you're in weather, you're going to work when the weather happens. And that's what I liked about it. So the schedule has changed a lot. So I'm going to flip the question back on you two as young men and young professionals. When you started watching television as a kid, what did the news schedule look like for you? Do you remember?
Evenings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember like 9 o'clock news or 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock.
Right.
I remember that, and I remember getting up before school, watching you on TV.
Right.
Yeah.
And
very similar.
Okay,
very
so
similar.
when I first started, there were morning newscasts, there was a noon newscast, and there was like a 6 and a 10, and that was it. When I started in Bismarck and here, there was a 6 o'clock and a 10 o'clock, and a 5 was added at one of the stations. And then they added a 4, a 4:30, a 5, a 5:30, a 6, a 6:30, a 9, 10, and I'll bet they will continue to add more. So there was no change in additional help. So it was just like, turn from this camera to the next camera, and it got a little more difficult that way. It was more demanding. Now I work for myself, and I will work whenever it's needed. But, the television roles are changing because the environment's changing. It's a more challenging market for television stations to earn the revenues maybe that they were in the past. So they're adding newscasts. They're not buying programming, but having their help make more and more and more news.
Yeah. So you had been at Valley News Live for quite a few years or whatever. Did you always think that transition, that door would open for you to run your own ship, or what was that transition kind of like?
I saw myself being in TV until I couldn't walk, or they escorted me out the building with my walker or whatever it might be. I mean, I wanted to do that forever. I loved the job, and I still love what I do. It's the forecasting, it's the people, and it's the environment, and it's the viewers, because I treat them, whether you live in Gwinner or whether you live in Devil's Lake or Roseau or Fargo, Moorhead for that matter, Grand Forks, East Grand Forks, all the same. If there's a tornado warning in your town, I want to be there for you. And so with regards to walking out on my own and doing my own, that's not what my intention was, but it became clear that I was going to have a transition, and I spent some time during that, post-television year really searching my soul, I had opportunities to go to other television stations in other markets and closer to here. And it was like, can I do this on my own too? And so I really started looking into that. I started trying it. I started posting every day videos, and the viewers loved it. And I knew, I think I can do this.
I have so many questions on that, but I saw you hit 80,000 followers. That's really cool. Congratulations on that on Facebook, I believe, right?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. I just feel like there's not many people to model after on what you're doing. Was there someone that has kind of helped you transition to this, of just starting your own thing?
It's people your age. Yeah. I would sit at home on YouTube or Facebook, and I would see, streamers streaming their games, and they have like hundreds of thousands of followers. And, I never had my head in the clouds, but a lot of people knew me around here, from Bismarck and the western part of the state to Montana, South Dakota to Canada, and all the way out to Minnesota. I'm like, I think I can do this. If I'm there for people, I know that that's a good thing, and I can earn their trust in the weather information, just like I've done in every TV market I've been to. So I just took that confidence that I garnered from being in the business that I'm in for a long time, and a belief that I had a connection with my viewers here, so I didn't want to leave them. Mm-hmm. And if it wasn't for them, if it wasn't for you, if it wasn't for all of these people who have supported me and they've clicked the follow button or a like or developed this rapport on these broadcasts, because on TV, somebody can't sit at home and raise their hand and say, what about Thompson? What's going to happen here? You can do that in streaming. So if I happen to catch that question, it's like they're right next to you at the restaurant. What do you think this storm's going to do for, out here south of Detroit Lakes? We live in Cormorant.
Yeah. You can literally address their questions as they're coming in, and where TV, you can't do that.
It's an experience during the lives, and then it's the ability to go into more depth, because one thing that's changed in television, shorter and shorter and shorter amounts of time. I used to get 5 minutes or more in Bismarck to do the weather, and even when I started here, to really go over the details between Devil's Lake and Gwinner and Fargo. Now you got 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and how are you going to do that? And the bottom line is that the focus becomes more narrow, and it does become more geared toward the main metro area. So I hear from people all the time, hey, thanks for covering our weather. And now I'm garnering some trust from viewers that, we're out of the signal range of the television towers here locally. And I think that's pretty cool.
I feel like, because Grand Forks used to have a station, and it's the larger Fargo metro got, it kind of focused on that. So that is cool to be able to call out and somebody says this town or that town. And I guess I never thought about that side of things. What do you do as far as because people ask us this question, we started doing this, it's taking some time away from our actual paying jobs. Right. They say, well, what's your plan to monetize, a podcast, or you're going to monetize your content? Have you found the sweet spot of you're able to do that? Obviously you love weather, but you have to pay for your livelihood too.
Well, have you been able? It was tough. The first year and a half, I knew that it was going to be tough, but I had a little bit of, time to give it a good effort. I looked at jobs outside of television too. I had opportunities there. I chose to not do that so I could really go all in. I believe that's why it's like, you know what? Losing isn't an option. You may have heard people say that. And when you have it all on the line and you're going to be like, okay. And then I would ask viewers, what do you want? When do you want it? How do you want? Okay, do you want to focus on this? And I really took that to heart. And then in my mind, I had a sequence of goals. I had a business plan, and I'm ahead of the game where I wanted to be by now, both in followers, but also in what I can offer. So there's a website. There's a weather app now. Those were two goals that I wanted, so I could have my own platforms that didn't always rely on a social media platform delivering my content to somebody. So that's really cool. And now, people can have their cell phone at the lake when they're camping, when they're traveling, and check the latest forecast video from Hutch. And I'm working with people about what they want when it comes to that app that's going to be more of a all-in-one tool for them, as opposed to, more or less just a computer model number that's spit out from a national company somewhere. So
Yeah.
Have you struggled with, do you have like a team helping you with the technology side of things? You had said that that wasn't something you necessarily focus on. Did it take a while to get used to that?
yeah, you know what? My team is my community of friends and colleagues that I've worked with for years, and you all know who you are. I could never have done this without you and the things that I've learned. I couldn't have done it without my colleagues at the television stations. So when I'm sitting here learning how microphones work or how a camera works and how to focus it, and this camera goes out of focus when I move, or you know, so you are tweaking all the time. But I love learning, and so there were some pretty rough videos when I first started doing this, and the graphics and the weather graphics I've been building since day one, and back in the day, when I had to type in every number and every city name on the map. It wasn't automated. So I'm doing that, and I still do that. But I'm glad that I had that experience. Without that, I wouldn't have been able to put the engine together that I'm rolling with today. So it's not impossible for anyone to do. It's just you gotta look at what you're doing from the couch and say, what could make this better? And if you do that and you challenge yourself, then tomorrow you are going to be better.
That's great to have the support of, like you mentioned, some previous coworkers and colleagues or whatever. We had Sophia Richards and Alex Larson on from Valley News or whatever.
Sure.
And they were, big supporters of you as well. So that's very nice. I feel like anytime you leave a job or whatever happens, it's always kind of like, are you still friends or what's going on? And so for you to be able to continue and have that support and gain the following you have with the community, that says a lot about you. So that's
There's
really
so
neat.
many people in that building that I love, and I'll share a story with you. But back in Bismarck, when I was out there, I had a program called the Weather Kid program out there. It came here. I says, hey, how about we do this? And it worked here for the whole time I was here. Now, it's been nearly 30 years I've had Weather Kids on, and some are meteorologists across the country. One of them's here, Summer. Hi, Summer. Summer Schnellbach is a former Weather Kid from Bismarck. And I am so humbled and honored that you can spark a little interest in some people, and you really just root for them to keep going and carry the baton to the next level, because these are people that will do that, and I'm really proud of them. So
It's
It's
awesome.
really cool.
So where do you see Hutch's weather continuing over the next 10 years? I mean, we talked about, you just hit 80,000 followers. Maybe that was ahead of your goal. Can you share a goal of where do you see that? Where do you want that to be?
I think that the thing with the numbers is that, and monetizing it and making a paycheck and living comes down to also local businesses. It also comes down, so I'm not earning my living on just what happens from the social media platforms. I am trying to find partners here. So I've also become a salesperson and walking to area clients and seeing if we can find something that works. And now that I have a website and I have a app that's growing, once these things reach kind of this critical mass, whatever it might be, I think, once my app is hitting 50,000 downloads or 100,000 downloads, which I know it will, then I will be as able to reach with every post the same numbers that even the big broadcast stations in this region reach, even more than some. So
That's an insane goal. So obviously you're talking about the app. So that would be like selling selling sponsorships of
Correct.
or advertising within your own app, different things like that.
Yep.
Okay.
So sponsorships are something that have really got me out of off the ground and running and going for the first couple of years. They've allowed me to make some investments into things like building the app. And if it wasn't for Joe, my web developer, who's a colleague and a friend, he spent hours like me, like we've talked, what if we did this? And he's like, oh, what if I do this? And I'm like, I like that, Joe. Mm-hmm. So Joe, thank you. And then everybody who's helped me along the way. People that helped me with sales, they said, I think you can do this. And really, it's more or less the confidence that your friends and your colleagues give you. It's like, Hutch, you can do this. And that's what I needed to hear. And then that's all I needed to hear. So
what do you think that local TV and what you're doing, do you think it's going to continue to transition into what you're doing? Or what would be your prediction for how local TV is going to continue to change?
Well, I am not the first person to do this. There are some really, there are people who have never done television weather in their life that have millions of followers across the country. There's a person called Ryan Hall, y'all, and there's other folks that are doing this too across locally and across the nation. So I think that the trend is, just like everything else, is finding your niche, being there for people, establishing relationships with them. This is all nothing different than in the businesses that we're all in right here. So I see it continuing to be like that. I do think there'll be changes in broadcasting as a whole. It's become more challenging in that aspect too. But I think there's going to be more people that do what I do around here. And I want to help other people do what I do. I want to help other people because we can all win in this. There's networks that are being kind of talked about and put together across the country of former television folks that want to work together across the board to help each other. And I think that that's something that we can do too. So
it's got to be just a generational thing. I mean, because we grew up as kids, our parents did a lot of TV. That was before everybody had an iPhone in their hand, access to everything. And even now, like, you know, with TV, it's just the phone is free. Facebook is free. You know, your weather app is free, I'm assuming.
Yes.
And it's like, I think it's naturally going to gather a lot more viewers when it's accessible. It's in your hand all the time, and it's free to begin with, you know? So I think you're kind of ahead of the curve here, honestly. I mean, I think as the generations get older and grandparents pass away and parents start to age, it's like all of us and kids younger than us. I mean, I don't think TV time is nearly what it used to be. I mean, just naturally because of the phone or the iPad or the Xbox or whatever that may be. So that's cool. Like you said, you're not the first one in the game, but I still think you're early enough that you can make this thing as big as you want it to be.
Well, and I appreciate that. Thank you. And it's one of the things where I want it to be in 10 years, to get back to your question. Sorry, I tend to wander.
That's okay.
But, you know, I want to still be here. And that's another thing that I have to show to people who might be interested in advertising, is that I am building not just the rapport with the viewers, because that's increasing, but I'm building a community and relationships. And as it grows to be enough, and I show that I'm not leaving somewhere tomorrow to go, you know, do whatever it might be. I'm here, and I want to be here for the long haul. So that does include a 10-year plan. I'm going to be here covering your weather because you have supported me, and I just want to keep doing it. Will I need help doing it? Yes. I don't want to be the only person, you know, doing the sales, doing my own. I have people who have helped me with marketing. Thanks, Brad. Thanks, Heather. Thanks for everybody who've given me ideas on the phone late at night or email talks and idea sessions, because it's all really meaningful. I'm learning so much, and all of it has helped me, you know, continue to make decisions every day.
Yeah, and that was my next question. You were talking about having other people around. Do you foresee someone else, like maybe not filling in your shoes completely, but having someone new or whatever to like kind of slowly start to transition into what you're doing, and maybe it allows you, you know, over 10, 15 years, you can step back, you can still be part of it, but it would still allow you to control the program and own the apps and all those things. And it's like, do you see that progression happening at some point? I mean, because like I said,
in some capacity, and you know what, I can tell you, I can't envision how that's going to work exactly. It could be that it's people working side by side with me, and then maybe I am not doing quite as much. I don't know what that's going to look like. I know that I won't work forever. We're never here forever. But what I do know is that what I do is hope to build up people who do work with me to help them grow. I get more out of that than I do out of, you know, my own success or growth or platform size or anything like that. So honestly, I don't see myself trying to be a TV station, right? Because, you know, there are TV stations to do that. And in fact, TV, radio, newspaper, they are all getting into the social game because we have to all be there. We all have to. It's where people are going for stuff. And there now is AI. So what does that mean? And how do we look toward the future there? Because you and I may not be able to imagine what that means for our day, but I think we're all getting a clear idea that, boy, this could be a powerful thing to help us do certain things so we can focus on these other tasks.
Does AI ever scare you? Not to get down a deep rabbit hole on AI,
Yeah,
but sometimes it's kind of like, even as realtors, we think about like, okay, well, it'd be pretty easy for a computer to generate a purchase agreement and, you know, show people where to sign.
I'm old enough to remember the times when people were scared of going to the computer age from the old money age or the credit card age. Because in the old days, you used to have a credit card with imprintable numbers, and you used to have carbon copies of everything you did. So you would set your card on this thing, and it'd take a carbon copy of the numbers on your card, and that's how we worked. And there were businesses who were like, they're going to computerize this on a chip? How can they do that? You know what I mean? So you were scared. You almost didn't want to give away your ability to have that knowledge of where it was coming from, or real cash or stuff. So everything is evolving and everything is changing. I'm not scared of it. It could be scary. All things could be used for negative purposes or whatnot. People who work in jobs like anchors, they're talking about, oh, we'll have an AI anchor up there. Maybe they will. You know, I mean, I see a lot of animated cartoons, and it's kind of fun. I made it and had help making, thanks, Brad, animation of Pedro singing a rock song for the holidays. So, yeah, that stuff is true. Our jobs, what we do sometimes can be replaced by a computer. But what does that mean that we do? Do we sit here and go to the fridge and look out the window? No. We're continuing to grow. So
you said there was a little bit of a period in your life years ago that you had kind of a soul searching time. What was that time like? Like, was it a long time? Was it an extended amount of time? How did you deal with all those thoughts rushing to your head of doing something for so long and just changing?
I've never been somebody who's been good at a lot of change, right? Mm-hmm. So I've had the television broadcasting career since the 90s. And so there have been many of these soul-searching times, even from moving from one television job to another one can be intimidating. But I think during those transitions, sometimes we have other responsibilities that make it even more scary to change a job or to change something in your life. But if you have a community around you, if you have a family around you, if you have, the wherewithal to be able to just take your time making a decision. Sometimes we have a plan ahead of time. That wasn't me. I didn't see myself leaving television when I did. It just ended up being that way. With that said, I'm glad that I did have a little period of time that I had some cushion to make it go. So always work towards that. Have that opportunity, or working towards the future that you don't know might be there. But it never hurts to save a little along the way. It never hurts to know when the right time to make a decision like that is. When I was a young father of 1, 2, 3, 4 kids, and then you have obligations and responsibilities, everything was scary. You don't have an opportunity to trip up. Here I'm like, okay, kids graduating high school, all of them are about done. This might be a decent time to really look at what's going on here and take a look at the future. So that's what it was like. It was scary, but then again, I needed time to prove to myself that, yeah, this is an idea I could do. I think it's a doable thing.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. You know, talking about being in the community and us being new, this has been kind of a fun topic for us. So we've been doing this the last year. Our viewership, we feel like we finally got some traction in the last 6 months. And it's been just very funny for us to be out and to be approached at all. I mean, we've gone out on multiple times, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, I love your videos." And like I said, I saw you literally at a glimpse and watching that. Out of all of your years and being just a household name for so long, do you have a story that stands out to you that was either crazy scary or like crazy good of ever being approached in the community that really just stuck with you?
No, I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of people, and sometimes people walk up to you. I think the one thing that maybe I'll share is that sometimes people walk up to you and they look at you and then they look away, and they just don't want to, they don't want to bother you. And I get that. That's okay. But I never want to turn anybody away. So if you want to come say hi, come say hi. If I've got spaghetti dangling from my lip and then slurping it up or whatever, it's like, we'll visit in a second.
Yeah.
But I think the thing is that I just love talking to people. I love knowing, hey, where are you from? Where did you grow up? When did you start watching? That kind of stuff. It's always fun to visit. So, other people come right up no matter what you're doing, and it's almost as if they know you, and they say, "Hey, I know you, but you don't know me." So that's happened so many times. Just keep doing that. That's fine. Everybody's so polite. Some people give me a ribbing, and that's okay. I can roll with those punches too. So
Yeah.
What do you usually like? Do people just give you crap for getting a prediction wrong? Is that like if they kind of give you a hard time, is that all they're doing? Yeah.
Yeah. Where's the snow? Hutch? A lot of people will put requests in like, would you please fix this? So I roll with them with that kind of stuff. And I love it too, because weather's something we have always all have in common. We're all experiencing the same thing. We all might want something different. And then some of the on-air stuff that you learn when you're working with people, where you say something you didn't quite mean to say. Those things happen in live television or live streaming events or whatnot. But or things happen where your mic breaks and you're standing there and people are like, "We can't hear you," stuff like that. So there's been a lot of humbling moments in television. But I think the things I remember the most are the events that I covered that we all connected on. So, June 17th of 2010, and there was a tornado outbreak up here in the Northern Plains, and there were over 100 tornadoes between North Dakota and Minnesota on one day. And it was unbelievable. And people lost their lives. So as a meteorologist, where you're doing your best, in my role in that is to forecast it, let people know, do your best to get the warnings out there, tell people where the worst storms are, where they're going, when they're going to be there. It's really, really, really hard when you hear that someone has perished and lost their lives in a situation like that. You know that you can't do everything. There's doctors that do everything they can to save lives. And so, yeah, the science of it and why I do it is to try to get the information out there. And we can't always control how people respond to that message. Or some people just don't. I find a lot of people don't even pay attention to the weather because it doesn't impact their day. Look out the window. I know what I need to. But still staying connected when it matters most. Like if the sky is dark and it's looking pretty noisy, and check that app and make sure you know if it's a bad storm or if you can just keep driving down the road. So.
Yeah.
Hutch, do you have any advice for someone? It's obviously easier for someone in maybe their 20s to leave a job or to start their own business or take that leap. It's much more difficult for someone who's in their 30s or 40s or 50s. What advice would you give to someone who's maybe thinking about starting that advice or starting that job, starting that new career, whatever it is? Yeah. Do you have anything for that?
Yeah, we oftentimes feel like we're in this bubble, the individual, and when you look around, there's a lot of us that have been through that kind of a change, whether it was by our power or some other act of nature, whether it was an injury or a downsizing, and you find yourself without a job. Take a little bit of time if you can, if you have that, and just go over your strengths and weakness and what that next step is going to be, because I truly believe when one door closes, another one's going to open up for you. You can't sit there and wait for it to fall in your lap. You have to do your research and whatnot. But I think that life can deal us all kinds of crazy situations and storms, no pun intended. And when we're going through a storm, sometimes it's best to slow down, not panic, look at our strengths. And then this community here, I think you two might agree with me in knowing that people here in the Northern Plains, the upper Midwest, are a different breed. We help people, and I found so many people calling, so many people with opportunities and jobs. So if you need something right away, I would have had that. So would you. And you get out there and you start searching, and it might not be the same thing you left, but maybe it's because there needs to be a change. Maybe there's something else for you that you haven't even considered. Because I didn't consider being a weather streamer when my last day on television was. That wasn't what I was looking at. But it just came to me.
Yeah.
And something will come to you too. It will work out. You just keep the faith and you keep trying and know your strengths.
Yeah. It wasn't easy for us to start something like this. I mean, not a lot of people are necessarily doing it in our business, in our real estate business. Not many people have a podcast, and it just took that extra effort. We had a lot of rough go-arounds and a lot of nerves, and sitting down with people like you, the mayor, and the deputy mayor. It's really difficult to do those things. But then once you get over it, it just gets so much easier. Right. That initial heartbreak is just tough to get over.
We all got to go back to what we learned in kindergarten sometimes. Treat each other like we'd want to be treated, and, don't take crayons, all those kind of things. But the other thing that you kind of learn when you're young is that we tend to model ourselves after people that we really respect and admire. And so do that. find somebody, be coachable, be somebody who's willing to learn. And then, if you're podcasting or streaming like I did, I'm watching other streamers. I was watching other broadcasters when I was getting into TV, and I like that. I like that idea. And then go with that. But then also realize there's other ways to learn. So look for some coaching or watch successful podcasts that you like, because you get to pick because you're driving your bus and you get to pick what you want to make this to be.
Yeah,
so.
That's a great response. Do you think we ask Hutch the fun ones?
I think so.
There's a fun one?
Well, we have a fun one. So we kind of started this. We started off by how we kind of got a little bit of traction of doing Fargo like bars and restaurants and ranking them. So
Okay.
we wanted to ask you, what is your top 3 favorite restaurants or bars in Fargo?
Wow, that's a really good one. I don't go out a lot to eat a lot, but I do go to some bars.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why.
All right.
I am an 80s rock and roll heavy metal fan. I play guitar and I like that. And a few people that I've met over the years are like, hey, there's a local band. And I'm like, oh. So I'll go to some dive bars and check out some local bands from time to time because I enjoy it. And I'm like, maybe when I was a kid, I envisioned myself as a rock star. So, if you're ever in town and looking for something to do, check out the local scene and see who's playing music if you enjoy music, because it is kind of fun to go see all the local talent here. And there's a ton of it. So where have I gone for that? Actually, Rick's and Specs, where they have 80s hard rock bands. Downtown Fargo here has some neat bands that come down to, whether it's the Sanctuary or Dempsey's. Even the VFW, I'll go in there if there's a local band playing sometimes and try to check them out and see. So that's what I do when I want to get out and just kind of not be forecasting the weather. Either playing guitar, watching somebody play, admiring their skill, because there's a lot of really talented musicians here in this community. And we do foster that in the Fargo-Moorhead area. And theater, all of that, it's all good. So restaurants, I like good steak, but I haven't tried enough to really weigh everybody. I'm good at riding the middle of the fence. I don't want to hurt any feelings, because there's a lot of good places.
And Murphy's for Spud Hockey, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We might have ran into each other there. So yes, absolutely. It's so fun to be a part of the community that enjoys the community themselves. So the Spuds is a really fun thing to be a part of too, and watching their program be successful. In Fargo, it's fun to watch teams be successful. A small part of me when I first moved to town was excited for the Bismarck Demons to win their first state championship, because nobody from the West had ever won that. I'm like, you did it, So yeah, it's fun to watch your community grow and see kids that were playing hockey here go play at colleges and different places.
It's awesome. Well, thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
today.
thanks for having me.
Congratulations on the success that you're having, and we look forward to watching it grow. And maybe if we're lucky enough, we'll have you back someday. We'll see where we're at in the next couple of years.
That sounds good.
So,
yeah, and good luck to you guys too with this and with your professional endeavors. You're going to do good. Just keep following your heart and working hard. So
Thank you, Hutch.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.